In this video, I'm going to show you how to work linen stitch in the round. This is the stitch pattern that I did in my flicker and fade cowl. And one of the neat things about linen stitch is that this is the right side of it, but the wrong side looks just as nice. So I have a sample right over here that I'm working on. The key with linen stitch in the round is that your stitch count is always going to be an odd number. So using my flicker and fade pattern as an example, row 1 says to knit 1, and then the next stitch is slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front. So bring the yarn to the front, insert the right needle into the next stitch on the left needle as if you're going to purl it, like that, and then just slip it to the right needle without working it. Then you're going to bring the yarn to the back of the work. Then it says to repeat those 2 steps. So we're going to knit 1, and then slip the next stitch purlwise with yarn in front. So bring the yarn to the front of the work, insert the right needle into the next stitch on the left needle as if to purl it, and then slide it right to the right needle. Then bring the yarn to the back of the work. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat those 2 stitches throughout this round. So we've made it towards the end of that round. So the last step was to just do 1 more, slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front, bring the yarn around to the back, and it said to work that to 1 stitch before the end, and then knit the last stitch. Okay, then I'll slip the marker over. Now round 2, it's the exact same stitches that we just worked, but they're just in a different order. So instead of doing a knit 1 first and then a slip 1, we're going to do a slip 1 first and then a knit 1. So for that very first stitch, I'm going to bring the yarn to the front and slip it purlwise, then bring the yarn to the back, and then knit the next stitch. One little tip that I'll give you is if you're in the middle of a round and you're not sure if the next stitch should be slipped or knit, if you take a look at the stitches, there's either a bump under it or a little bit of a longer horizontal line. So see, there's a bump, horizontal line, bump, horizontal line. The tip is for the stitches that have a bump, those are the ones that you slip. And the ones that have the horizontal line, those are the ones that you knit. And the reason for that is because on the previous row, if it has a bump, that means on the previous row it had been knit. And if it has a horizontal line, it means on the previous row it had been slipped. So in essence, you always want to do the opposite on the next row. So the previous row, this stitch had been knit. So now we want to slip it. And on the previous row, this had been slipped, and you can kind of tell when you get to that stitch because it doesn't have the bump underneath it. You could tell it's sort of coming up from the row behind it, that's the stitch that has to be knit. So that is how you work linen stitch in the round.